Christian, obviously it was frustrating in Bahrain, having such a high in Japan.
Yeah.
Coming here, the expectations higher, and you're a bit concerned after FP1. That's quite cool. Are you a bit concerned after FP1 that actually Max doesn't feel altogether confident in the car?
Is Max Verstappen really planning an exit from Red Bull? Christian Horner just broke his silence, and what he said might shock you. Check this video out.
I think, as you say, we've sort of experienced two very contrasting emotions in Japan, getting that victory, and then obviously last weekend was a tricky one. We're trying a few different things this weekend, so that session was all about trying, going a little radical on some of the setup. So we got plenty to look at. We ran the cars, slightly differently as well, so that we've got that information now to digest before the second session.
We often hear Max saying, recently, I can't turn the car.
Yeah.
I can't turn the car. How do we explain what that means?
Particularly at turn one in that session, I think he drops about 0.3 to 0.4 of a second to, the lap that I saw was to Lando, and then the rest of the lap, it's about a tenth and a bit. But just getting that bite, the tyres, the brakes into that window, obviously plenty to have a look at to get it switched on for when you start the lap.
If Max Verstappen says, I can't turn the car, shouldn't that set off alarm bells in Milton Keynes? We're not talking about a rookie here. We're talking about the best driver of this generation struggling in free practice. Is Red Bull risking performance by experimenting too much too soon?
And despite Max feeling a bit less comfortable, Yuki's actually very close, relatively speaking. He obviously looks a bit more comfortable in the car. We've seen that in free practice. I think follow-up to that, has he actually brought anything from the racing balls to the team that you think is something he was happy with there, that he's now feeling in this car, or is he just getting more and more comfortable every race?
I think he's just finding his feet. I thought that he drove a pretty decent weekend in Bahrain, and scoring his first points, qualifying in the top 10, and he's building on that here. And the car for him, he said, look, it's not doing anything particularly nasty. A lot of his comments are similar-ish to Max in terms of where he wants to find speed from the car on sort of turn into apex.
Bahrain was clearly a tough weekend. Max sort of grappling with all sorts of issues, which kind of uncharacteristic really for Red Bull, including the pit stop issues. We're hearing rumours of a crisis summit that was called. Is that the case after?
No, it's not a crisis summit. If you sit down with your engineers and discuss the race, I wouldn't describe that as a crisis summit.
So you didn't have a meeting in Dubai where
we have lots of I think the crisis summit was described as the meeting after the race in Bahrain. The whole team's working incredibly hard. I think we understand what the issues are. It's introducing a series of upgrades over the coming races to try and address some of those shortcomings.
If Yuki's finding confidence in the same car Max is struggling with, what does that really say about Red Bull's development priorities? Is the car evolving away from Max's elite driving style in pursuit of a broader baseline? That's a dangerous trade-off for a team built around a generational talent. Red Bull's real challenge now is regaining the trust Max has in his machinery. That will define the season far more than any single pit stop issue.
You've dominated the last few years, both in the constructors and in the drivers. You've dominated here.
Yep.
Every time we've been here, previous 4 attempts. Where's the magic formula gone? Where has it disappeared to? What's happened? What's changed?
Well, I think when you get stable regulations like this, the benefit of them is that you get convergence, and all the teams are doing a very good job now. You look how much faster than we're going than previous years, and all the teams, the front teams have converged. There's no bad teams in Formula One, and we've got some vices in our car that with the margins being so close, if you listen to Max's comments, if he's not confident on the car on turning in, he's having that instability issue, that's worth tenths, hundredths of a second, which in such a tight grid, is multiple places. So we know when we can tidy that up, performance will come.
And we've seen Max generally extract the most out of the car when he can, but realistically, where do you think you are this weekend? How far off, or where do you think it is going to...
I think it's too early to tell. I think we'll get a better read perhaps in the second session when the temperature cools and you get a bit more representative running. But look, I think McLaren clearly will be the car to beat. Mercedes could be quick round here also. So yeah, it's impossible to read the form, too soon.
Red Bull admitting to vices in the car speaks volumes. Max's feedback about instability isn't an excuse, it's a signal. How did Red Bull, the benchmark team for years, end up with a car this sensitive to setup changes? If even Max is struggling to turn in, isn't that a red flag for deeper design inconsistencies? It's not about other teams catching up, it's about Red Bull plateauing.
Tell us a bit more about the correlation issues that you've touched on with the wind tunnel. How much of an impact is that really having?
I think particularly when you get to the finer elements of a set of regulations like this, that the wind tunnel that we have is it's a relic of the Cold War, so it has its limitations, which is why we've invested in a new tunnel which is in the process of being constructed. But with a set of regulations like this, you have a scatter of 3 points a run pretty much, and when you're looking for a point and a half, that's in the scatter of the read that you get from the tunnel. So yeah, it doesn't help, but we've got some very bright engineers and aerodynamicists and mechanical designers that I'm sure will figure it out.
Is it not the same one that Racing Bulls use though?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and they haven't experienced the same issues.
Well, I think they have, because they're not on pole position, are they? So
well, it's interesting though, actually, because they were looking much more competitive before
yeah, I
this
think
weekend.
they've got a balance in their car, which has given their drivers confidence over a lap. And the car has a predictable amount of understeer in it, but the car, you see it on the long runs, it fades. And now, obviously they use the same tunnel, the same tools. They use our suspension, they use our gearbox and drivetrain, which is permitted within the rules. But it just shows that if you're missing a balance, then that is valuable track time.
This is a classic case of tech not keeping pace with the competition. When the difference comes down to tenths, outdated infrastructure becomes a serious liability, no matter how talented the driver. Even a driver as loyal as Max won't ignore patterns, setup issues, leadership tension, and performance inconsistencies. If Red Bull can't give him the tools, how long before he starts looking elsewhere?
There's been a lot of noise about Max having an exit route at the end of June and a window. Is that true?
Well, I think noise is exactly the right word to describe it. There's been a lot of noise outside of the team. Inside the team, I think Max again reaffirmed his commitment yesterday. We're focused on making the car go faster. That's where our focus is. Max is part of that. He's a committed member of the team, and the rest is all speculation and hearsay.
You're certain he'll be in your car in Melbourne next year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Marco's not. Helmut Marco's not there,
Sorry?
is he? He's a bit worried, Helmut Marco, isn't he?
As a team, we are focused very much on sorting this car out. Sort the car out, it doesn't even become a discussion point.
Well, the point of this track is that Max really can make a difference, can't he? So he's gone well in the past. I'm sure he will again this weekend. Thank you very much for your time, Christian.
How long can Red Bull rely on past dominance while the grid closes in? This isn't just about fixing a car. It's about proving to Max that Red Bull can still be the team of the future, not just the team of the past.